My friend, I must speak to you about a silent destroyer, one that ruins dreams, dismantles discipline, and turns potential into wasted years. It is not failure. It is not poverty. It is not the lack of opportunity. No, the one habit destroying your potential is procrastination. I speak with conviction, for I have seen the brightest minds dimmed by delay. I have watched men of talent wither while waiting for the perfect moment. Let me tell you, there's no perfect moment. There's only now. I wrote in my time that self-help is the root of all genuine advancement, and I still believe that to be true. But no philosophy, no matter how noble, can survive the corrosion of procrastination. When we procrastinate, we lie to ourselves. We tell ourselves we will act tomorrow, as if tomorrow has ever truly belonged to us. We wait for the right mood, the right resources, the right wind, but while we wait, life passes. And when the winds finally blow our way, we are too weak, too late, too unprepared to seize the sail. Let me tell you a story. There was once a young man named Edward, born with all the promise one could hope for. He was clever, articulate, and imaginative. People often said he is destined for greatness. And perhaps he was. From an early age, Edward stood out. In school, his essays dazzled his teachers. In conversation, his wit and insight captivated his peers. He dreamed of becoming a writer. No, more than that. He dreamed of becoming a voice. A voice that would inspire, challenge, uplift. Do you believe deeply in truth, in character, in the power of words to shape lives? Edward had a dream of writing a great book, a book that would uplift and educate, just as mine sought to do. He had ideas, brilliant ones. He would often speak of his plans with passion in his eyes. It will be a book on personal greatness, he would say, a guide for those who feel lost. But Edward had one flaw. He always said, "Not yet. I just need a little more time to prepare." He would buy notebooks and fine pens. He would spend hours outlining, researching, organizing. He subscribed to journals, attended lectures, collected quotes and statistics. His desk was covered in plans. His shelves bowed under the weight of unread books. He became an expert in planning, but a stranger to doing. The outlines grew dusty. The plans grew stale. But he kept telling himself the same story. Soon, each year passed with another reason, another excuse. Next month, when work is less busy. After the holidays. Once I have a better writing space. When I feel more inspired. Meanwhile, life moved forward, always forward, never waiting. He received promotions, faced setbacks, celebrated milestones. But the book, the dream, remained unwritten. It became a quiet ache, buried beneath daily tasks and postponed resolutions. He would sometimes talk about it at gatherings. Friends would say, "Edward, when will you finally write that book?" And he would smile, sheepishly, and say, "Oh, I'm getting there. Just a little more time." Years turned into decades. He grew older, and the fire in his eyes dimmed. He would still talk about the book from time to time, but now it sounded more like a memory than a mission. He surrounded himself with books written by others. Some he admired, some he envied, but his own remained a ghost, an idea, a shadow. Edward died, having never written a single page. Now, I ask you, was his failure due to a lack of talent? Of course not. It was procrastination, dressed up in the respectable clothing of preparation and perfectionism. That habit stole his potential while whispering comforting lies. You see, procrastination is a thief. It doesn't break in loudly. It tiptoes. It tells you that waiting is wisdom, that delay is discipline. But it is deception. It is the quiet killer of dreams. It does not scream. It whispers. It does not wound in one strike. It erodes moment by moment, decision by decision. And here lies the danger. Procrastination often wears a suit. It looks respectable. It uses the language of ambition, but its only product is regret. Reflect on Edward, not to judge him, but to recognize how easily we can become him. The dreamer who never dares, the planner who never builds, the thinker who never acts. He lived with potential. He died with excuses. Let that not be your story. Now, allow me to show you another life. One that stands in contrast, not because of wealth, brilliance, or influence, but because of action. Her name was Mary. I met Mary early in my writing career in a modest village where few people had ever read a book, let alone written one. She was not a scholar. She did not wear fine clothes. She didn't come for nobility or power. She was a seamstress, quiet, humble, and hardworking. Mary lived in a small cottage with a leaking roof and a cold hearth. She had to stretch every coin, mending clothes by candlelight just to afford her next meal. But Mary had a vision, a burning purpose. She believed the young girls in her village, many of whom had never set foot in a classroom, deserved an education. Not tomorrow, not someday. Now, when she spoke of her dream, people laughed. Mary, you're just a seamstress. Who are you to start a school? You don't have money. You don't have training. Leave that to the professionals. But Mary paid them no mind. She began with what she had, a worn kitchen table and two young girls from the village who were eager to learn. She taught them using borrowed books, chalk made from limestone, and hand-copied lessons from old pamphlets. Her days were long. She would sew until her fingers bled, then teach late into the night. There was no applause, no recognition, only effort. I remember visiting her home once. The children sat on uneven stools. The walls were bare, but there was a light in that room, a fire of purpose. Every child's eyes were filled with hope. At times, she wanted to give up. There were months when she couldn't even afford candles and had to end her lessons at dusk. There were days when the cold seeped through her bones, and still she taught. But Mary did not wait for permission. She did not wait for perfect conditions. She acted, daily, tirelessly. She kept a small journal. In it, she wrote a simple sentence every night. I did what I could today. That was her creed. Not perfection, not brilliance, action. As years passed, more children joined. The kitchen became too small. The villagers began to notice. A traveling scholar donated a crate of books. A farmer offered his barn as a classroom. A young woman who had once sat at Mary's table returned to teach others. Within 10 years, Mary's effort had grown into a real school. Walls, desks, books, and all. Within 20, that school had birthed 3 more. And Mary? She never stopped. Until her final breath, she taught, guided, and served. What separated Mary from Edward? Not brilliance, not resources, not connections. One chose action, the other chose delay. Mary fought the same fears. What if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? What if no one listens? But she acted anyway. And here's the truth, my friend. Action is the antidote to fear. When you move, the fog lifts. When you act, you become more than your doubt. Mary's story teaches us something vital. Greatness is not born from perfect plans. It is built from imperfect actions repeated with purpose. The world does not need more dreamers. It needs doers. So ask yourself today, are you waiting to feel ready? Or are you ready to move despite the fear? Don't let the voice of doubt be louder than the voice of purpose. Be like Mary. Start where you are. Use what you have. Do what you can. And if you do it consistently, with heart, the results will astonish you. My friend, by now, you've seen the truth. You've seen what procrastination steals from us. Not just time, but purpose. Not just moments, but meaning. It robs the very fabric of what we could become. You've heard Edward's tale of brilliance buried by delay, and you've seen Mary's light, humble but relentless, changing the world from a kitchen table. So I ask you now, sincerely, as one soul to another, what are you waiting for? I do not ask to scold you. I ask to awaken you. Are you waiting for permission? It will not come. Are you waiting for inspiration? It fades. Are you waiting for perfection? It does not exist. Too many men and women live half-lives, not because they lack talent, but because they waited to be ready, waited to be stronger, waited to be confident. But strength comes from movement. Confidence comes from doing. The readiness you seek is not a prerequisite. It is a result. I have lived long enough to know that the difference between a fulfilled life and a forgotten one lies in this. Those who act despite uncertainty create momentum. Those who wait for certainty rot in stillness. The world was not shaped by hesitation. It was shaped by hands that dared to build while shaking. Do not believe the myth that greatness must feel great. It often feels like fear, like discomfort, like imperfection. But behind that discomfort is destiny. Let me share with you something I wrote many years ago. I said, the spirit of self-help is the root of all genuine growth. Men must not wait to be lifted. They must lift themselves. This idea is not simply a call to ambition. It is a call to character, to action, to integrity. To live with purpose is not to wait for the world to change. It is to change yourself, and by doing so, inspire the world around you. Every day you delay is a day your gift goes unopened. Every hour you postpone is an hour your potential sits in silence. If you want to honor your talents, you must use them. If you want to rise, you must begin, even if the start is clumsy, even if you are afraid. Think of Edward again. What if he had written that first page? Just one. What doors might have opened? Think of Mary. What if she had waited for someone else to lead? Would those children have learned to read? What is your book, your school, your mission? Where's your first page? I cannot answer that for you. But I can tell you this. You have something the world needs. Not tomorrow. Not eventually. Now, you may be ordinary. But if you act with purpose, you become extraordinary. You may be afraid. But if you move forward anyway, you become courageous. And once you take the first step, the second becomes clearer, and the third, and so on. Let me leave you with one final thought. Imagine yourself, many years from now, looking back on today. What will you remember? Will you remember a turning point? The moment you stopped waiting and started building? Or will you remember another excuse? You decide, not by your wishes, but by your actions. The one habit that destroys your potential is procrastination. The one habit that will save it is action. Begin today. Begin now. Not perfectly, just powerfully, because your future is waiting, and it will not wait forever. This is Samuel Smiles, and I believe in your power to begin.